Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. Today I'm going to talk about two things that seem to be diametrically opposed to each other. One is the power of affirmation, which is also how do you use your thought or your words as the basis of all healing, and like a prosecutor in a courtroom arguing on your own behalf and learning how to maintain this attitude as being true, regardless of all evidence to the contrary. So, for instance, if you want to say, I'd love to be open to everybody, but you know that in the world, if you're open to everybody, you could be taken advantage of. So already that kind of squashes that thought and makes you less willing or capable of holding on to the positive because your eyes can see so many things that would say it's not positive. And yet, we're talking about the relationship between your own subconscious mind and its relationship to your conscious mind. If you understand these principles and apply them, which are tried and true, you have a picture in your mind. You relax yourself as much as possible. So you're like in a semi-drowsy state where conscious resistance is lowered, or at least reduced to a minimum. And then you affirm that a certain state is so. Because to affirm anything is simply to say it is so. You can make a negative affirmation, but here you can make a positive affirmation. And you realize that the frame in which you hold things determines how you view the things that are within the frame. So for instance, in a picture frame, look at the difference between the details in your life as they are right now without changing, improving them just the way they are. And if you thought that the frame in which you held those details was a rat race, that all you're doing is for naught, you're just running around in circles, not getting anywhere, what's the point? Same details, however, but instead if you put the frame around it of I'm journeying to the center, I'm journeying to the holy city, my life is a pilgrimage that will eventually end me up in the house of spirit. Notice how now you view the same things because the frame is different. So please be aware when you're using affirmation or trying to use affirmation that you have to learn to calmly see what you want to accomplish coming into greater fruition moment by moment. And then you can feel the joy and restfulness of foreseeing what you're going to accomplish. As they say in the Bible, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, with that as the kind of positive spin to go about your life, you also have to learn how to stay in the present moment, or learning to get comfortable with things which are disagreeable. Even if you're sitting and meditating, you'll see how there's a lot of boredom. Your mind wanders. We say your mind has a mind of its own. Even after all these years, you still have a very, very busy mind, right? You think you'd get real good at it and wouldn't happen. That's the nature of the mind. It's like a roommate who you can't get away from. And you're in lockdown forever. So are you going to panic, or are you going to look at this as workable? No matter what happens, don't make a big deal out of it, because everything will help you to sense a fresh realization arising moment to moment. Don't want to scratch the itch. That only makes it bleed or spreads it further. You want to learn to be as comfortable as possible with the uncomfortableness of the itch. And because we all have habit patterns or strong addictions that have lasted for a long time, and remember what this does is it numbs ourselves so we don't feel. Instead, we seek out something that we crave as a pleasure, or we aggressively rant and lash out against things, or we're always identifying ourselves with the content of our thoughts, and then the ego doesn't like to pay attention to the thoughts that we have, so it finds its own little cocoon to go back into, to stay into, so it doesn't have to face the uneasiness, always seeking something else to distract. And of course, that's why it doesn't work, because we never get to the root of the problem. We're always turning our mind to something else. So most of the time, it's when people are in crisis or in pain that they get real about their spiritual life. That's the only time they get highly motivated. Can't you be highly motivated for something that's more positive rather than having your fear of paying attention to things being the flywheel that runs you, the search engine that runs you? So I hope you remember that. Be glad to be alive and don't move away from the present moment, no matter what it can take.